Oh, what's cracking, bunny boilers? My name, of course, is Bunny Tears. Welcome to this very different video for you guys. What I've got here is a controller that I customized for a friend, a member of the iPuD clan. You all know him as Borojunior. If you haven't seen my Inside the Gamer Studio episode where I was interviewing him, go have a look at that. I'll put a link in the description and a link on screen right now for you to see, right there, top left, good bird. But this is basically what I decided to do for Mr. Boro. Now, as you can see, he is part of the iPuD clan, written right there at the bottom right of his controller. Not only that, but I've also put on his gamer tag on the bottom left in typical graffiti style. For those of you that don't know, I used to be pretty into graffiti, hence the style of this controller in general. Now, the way that this is done is pretty much, it's taken apart, and I use spray paint because that's what I'm comfortable with, to customize every single element possible on the controller. I've gone for a typical red and black here, with the blacked out shiny buttons. Of course, we've got a black button there, red analog stick, black analog stick. And the reason I'm doing this is I kind of made one of these controllers, or I'm in the process of making one of these controllers for each of the iPuD members. Every single member gets their own controller. I have made other controllers as well, just kind of visual customizations. I don't do any modding or anything like that, just because I don't use a modded controller. However, this was made just to look good, essentially. Now, I wanted to make sure everyone in iPuD got their own controller. So far, I'm starting with the original iPuD members, so Borojunior, Kirkham, Wild Freebird, Chudley Moore, Read Don't Weep, Jared, Bullet, all of those original members, basically. Ollie, of course, how could I forget Ollie? I'm starting with them, and I'm going to slowly but surely make a controller for each person. Now, they offered to pay me for these, however, I decided that I'm just not going to take any money for it. So Boro actually sent me his original controller. Another thing I've actually been able to do with these controllers, which I couldn't do before, is I've hooked them up to a computer program which tells me how they are actually performing button-wise and, of course, analog stick-wise, and tells me if they're doing the best that they could possibly do. And now, generally, you might not know this, but when you buy a brand new controller from Microsoft, they don't perform to the best of their ability, which is why buying something like a SCUF controller is usually a good idea, because of the fact that they will be customized to perform to the best of their ability. One thing I was able to do with this controller using that software was actually kind of alter the actual way it performs so that it performs to the best of its ability. So, for example, there's no slow analog sticks. Sometimes you might even feel it when you're playing. Like, if you move right on games like Call of Duty and things like that, sometimes you might feel that when you move right, it's slower than when you move left. Or if you do a motion like this, where you go around in a circle, sometimes it might be slower than usual. The reason for that is just because the controller hasn't been made perfectly. It's gone straight through a factory, and it could have been done a lot better. So, essentially what I've done with these is I've grinded down the insides of them. I've changed the electronic layout slightly, pretty much just to make sure that it works perfectly. So now any controller that I make from this point on, including this one right here, works absolutely perfectly. Now, this is something new. On my previous controllers, I didn't know how to do this. I didn't have the program software to do it. But now I'm able to do it. So anyone who I've made a controller for before, it's only really friends that I've made controllers for, but I'm pretty much going to take them all back and customize them so that they all perform the same way. Now, I had another problem with these, which was that the paint that I use would wear away pretty easily. So after about a year of use, that you could see the paint wearing away and things like that, just from constant use in the areas where you would always hold on to it. So these side areas here tended to be the first ones to go, and here as well. And what I've done to actually combat that is put on about 6 different layers of paint, and then also kind of plastic gloss over the top as well, which means that this just will not go anywhere no matter how much you use it. It might change slightly in color-wise, so some of these black parts might fade into red over the time, or some of these red parts might fade into black, but they will just look the same. So, for example, if I grab one of my controllers, if I can find it, that is. Yep, here's one over here, so I'll grab this one. This is the first one I ever made. I must have made this about 2 years ago, and here it is. So as you can see, it started off as kind of pink and blue, but then over the 3 years, it faded in color hugely. So this area here has gone white just from having my thumb on it constantly. The side areas have gone pure white just because that's where you hold the controller. I had some see-through work done on it, things like that. But generally, the paint isn't the best it could be. I like the gold buttons, but apart from that, the paint just slowly wore away. Now, it didn't even look that bad for the first year because, like I said, it would just change colors. But now that I've actually got the means to bring this kind of new paint system into it and the performance system into it, they're going to go a lot better. So, for example, on this controller, if you push the stick up, you can't, if you listen carefully, you can't hear it click. If you put it in the middle, you can hear that click. Hear that? Whereas if you push it up, there is no click whatsoever. Now, the reason for that is because this wasn't customized to do the best it could. So if you're pushing up and you squeeze down, there is no possible way to sprint. And this is the controller I use every day for all of my gameplays. Also, it means that if you want to aim down sight while you're like crouched or when you're laying down, it won't let you. It won't let you aim down sight. You can push the left trigger, but it will constantly think you're moving because this stick isn't done correctly. So your player will basically just be jerking along like that, but not actually aiming down sight because you can't aim down sight while your player is actually walking or moving or anything like that. Like when he starts moving and when he stops moving, and then when he starts moving and stops moving, your player will just kind of zoom out of sight constantly. So this controller isn't the best, but I'm kind of used to it now. So when I use a normal controller, it freaks me out. But luckily, I just wanted to bring you this video basically just to say and show you Borojunier's controller. He wanted to see it as well. He just asked me for a picture of it, so I thought I'd put up this video. Minecraft will be up tomorrow. It's going big. I'm going to find a new house. I've got a little montage going. Then Walking Dead, of course, is going to be constantly going up. Call of Duty gameplays coming. More fact gameplays. I've also got another Minecraft Portraits episode coming up. So you got a lot to look forward to in the future. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. But here's the outro. Hope you guys enjoyed. Bye.